It's a very sad thing to realize that some of our favorite artists died with just enough money to survive. And although art is not always a way of subsistence, many of them, years later, were recognized thanks to their unparalleled work. That's why we will share with you some examples of those great artists who died misunderstood, in poverty and hunger. Number 10. El Greco. Known as one of the most important artists of the last stage of the Renaissance, it was not until 250 years after his death that the rest of the art world noticed the paintings of this great artist. El Greco was a painter, sculptor and architect misunderstood in his time, who died alone and without recognition in Spain in the year 1614. Number 9. Emily Dickinson. Although Dickinson produced a great number of works in private, less than a dozen of her nearly 1,800 poems were published during her lifetime. Also, the poems that were published during her life were significantly altered by the editors to conform to the conventional poetic rules of the time. Emily Dickinson was a particular woman who died alone and secluded in 1886 after losing her entire family. Number 8. Gustav C. Langenberg. Known as the painter on horseback, Gustave C. Langenberg is an example of those artists who, despite having enjoyed recognition for their work and travelled around the world, died alone and poor in 1915. Langenberg painted many portraits of kings and queens, many scenes of battles and Mexican-themed paintings based on their own experiences. Number 7. Rembrandt. Despite being considered one of the greatest Baroque masters of painting, his fame declined after he received strong criticism for one of his works, leading to bankruptcy. Afterwards, his wife died, his friends abandoned him, and he couldn't find a job until he finally died in darkness and poverty in 1669. Number 6. Oscar Wilde. The money and the recognition weren't enough for this famous writer. Oscar Wilde was known for having extravagant tastes and a life full of excesses, which eventually ended his career. After being accused and imprisoned as a homosexual, he was seen living in poverty in Paris, wandering the streets, tripping over old friends, and spending the little money he had left on alcohol. Number 5. Johannes Vermeer. Unlike previous artists, the recognition of Vermeer's work didn't occur until many centuries after his death, in which his splendid use of light was highlighted, and over the years would be included on the list of the best Dutch painters of the Golden Age. He died at age 43, leaving his family without money and with big debt. His famous work is The Girl with a Pearl Earring, painted in 1665. Number 4. Franz Schubert. The works of this talented composer were little appreciated by his contemporaries, being considered inferior in comparison to the work of Bach and Beethoven. Despite having a very short life, he always had financial problems, so he was forced to change his house constantly. However, Franz Schubert was one of the most prolific musicians of his time. Number 3. Paul Gauguin. The death of his two sons greatly influenced the work of this artist. The paintings of Paul Gauguin were considered risky, exotic and unappreciated. Because of this and the diseases that ended his life, he died alone and in poverty, without having any idea of the impact that his works would have on the world. Number 2. Edgar Allan Poe. Without a doubt, he is one of the most recognized names in literature. Edgar Allan Poe was one of the first writers to try to live off his books, but unfortunately, he didn't do very well and died in 1849 in extreme poverty in mysterious circumstances. He is currently one of the greatest literary influences on the world and is known as one of the precursors of the short story. Number 1. Vincent Van Gogh. Recognized as one of the least valued artists in life, Van Gogh actually is one of the most important and influential artists in the history of art. Today, there is no one who doesn't know his name, and his works travel the world for their originality. However, during his short life, Van Gogh only sold one painting and died at 37 in extreme poverty. Thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We publish content every week for your entertainment. Leave a comment to let us know what you would like to see in our next Top 10.